The White Lotus is finally back with Season 3 after over 2 years. However, one thing I would say is that this was definitely worth the wait. Creator and director Mike White re-immersed us back into the franchise of hotels and encapsulated that ominous feeling that's been present since the show first arrived on our screens in 2021. With the return of Greg, the only character that interconnects the anthological seasons and the person that was responsible for Tanya's death in Season 2. With his arrival, you just sense that he's got something to do with the gunshots that we heard in the opening part of this episode. With a wide selection of new characters to get our teeth into, hidden symbolism of nature, Buddhism, and the importance of monkeys, let's dive into this episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is The White Lotus Season 3 Episode 1 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The importance of the monkey. One key thing that I took away from this episode was the importance of the monkey and the role that it's going to play in this season of the show. It got a key focus and was extremely present in the opening scene in observing Zion's treatment and then also turning to see what the commotion was after the gunshots happened. Plus, they were also in the tree near Laurie, Kate and Jacyln's suite, watching over them. Like how the Testa de Moro was a prominent feature in the second season, I feel like the monkeys are going to act as a recurring feature in this one, just like how they did. It seems like this season of the show is exploring two different religions as well. One is Buddhism, and we saw this with Piper and the fact that she was doing her thesis on a celebrated monk, and the other is Hinduism, which we saw got a key focus when Belinda and the worker placed down offerings to the statue of Brahma so that the spirits that they believed were everywhere would take care of them and bring them good luck. The monkey is something which holds meaning in both of these religions and has symbolic value. Within Buddhism, the monkey is said to represent trickery and ugliness, which are two expressions that I feel like are going to be at the heart of this season amongst many of the different characters. Then in Hinduism, they're said to be symbolic of the restless human mind, which can be controlled through discipline. This is a mindset that a lot of the characters also have, whether that be Saxon and his lurking around the women, Timothy and his deceitfulness about his situation with Shokel and Kenny, and also Rick and his desire to get closer to Jim Hollinger for a reason that we don't know yet. I also think that these monkeys are acting as the watchful eye, and it almost shows us that when these people think that they're on their own, they're not, because the creatures that lurk in the trees will always be there. I feel like the final shot in the episode really highlighted that watchful nature that the monkeys are going to have. The camera being positioned in the tree looking through the window at Timothy and Victoria was a nice touch, and it tied directly to that. The way that the score was also composed behind certain scenes as well, there was almost this animalistic sound that was present, and the shriek that a monkey lets off was a repeated motif. So these creatures are definitely going to be a recurring theme and will be at the heart of this season. The Ratliffs. This family dynamic is one that I'm really looking forward to seeing develop. We've got Timothy, who's the head of the family and the main provider, judging by what Victoria said in the closing moments when she said that the success of their family was all due to him. We've got Saxon, who works for him and is clearly the favourite child as he's following in his father's footsteps. Then there's Piper, who's the reason as to why they're there, because she wanted to interview a monk. And there's also Lachlan, the child that's just about to go off to college and is definitely pulled in many different directions, whether that be his father, his brother, or his sister. We even saw him mention in the closing moments of the episode that he felt a bit lost and he didn't know what his purpose was in life. We didn't actually see him make a single decision in the entirety of the episode. He was taken to the temple by his sister, he went to the pool because of his brother, and he shared the room with his brother despite wanting to share it with his sister. So it showed that he was the passenger in the relationship with every family member. He was even told by his father that he wanted him to go to Duke College after he said that he didn't know what college to go to. I think Lachlan is definitely the dark horse in the family and the person that I feel could end up getting into some kind of trouble. It seems like Timothy is the type of person that likes to be in control and dictate what people do. For example, he didn't like the smoking on the boat, so he said something. He took the mick out of his son by saying that he should go to a posture class if he was going to be working in corporate for the rest of his life. And he was also disappointed in his daughter for not arranging the meeting with the monk before they all flew out there. He even looked worried when his wife Victoria said that she got a second wind and was about to embark on a talking spree, just like what occurred when they arrived on the island and the workers had to hurry her along. Plus, he also had his phone on him when there was a clear rule that advised against phones being in common areas. We know that he's clearly in a bit of trouble as Bart from the Wall Street Journal was writing an article on the project that he was involved in with somebody called Kenny called Shokel. So the road trip excuse that he was using in getting the family out to Thailand could be a ruse, and it could be because he's trying to run away from his problems back home. It was made out like Saxon was going to be on this mission of trying to get with women, due to him playing the numbers game as he said, and him also approaching the three friends and Chelsea. But with him giving terrible advice to his younger brother, and his brother being in a state where he's easily influenced and doesn't seem that street smart, I think it could be his brother that might find himself in a difficult situation. That's what I reckon anyway. The three friends. Now, I know a toxic friend group when I see one, even if they've been friends since they were kids. Jacyln, the TV star, Kate, the wife to a successful businessman, and Laurie, the regular woman that's got a traditional 9-to-5 and has a daughter. Laurie is definitely the odd one out, not through her own doing, but with the way that Kate sucks up to Jacyln and how they both treat her. I was cringing whilst watching it, especially when Kate compared her husband's business to Jacylyn's fame. Laurie didn't really participate in the complimentary tennis that was taking place and the over-complimenting of Jacyln, so I didn't think she was really that bothered. However, by the end of the episode, it seemed like she was actually envious of the two friends that she was away with. This is due to her watching them in the distance and also crying about it. She was on the wine the moment they got there, and she took an extremely large gulp, which to me showed that she was insecure about something. The differences that I noticed between the two friends and her consisted of the fact that her room was tucked around the corner. When they were talking about the cosmetic work that they had done, she hadn't had any compared to the other two. And both Jacyln and Kate were almost patronizing about the work that Laurie did, as if she wasn't successful. It felt very backhanded the way that they spoke about her job. I actually think she might be the person that ends up being intimate with maybe Saxon. He might pay her some attention and the other two might not want it or feel like they need it, and it might be Laurie's way of feeling like somebody that she's not, by doing something completely out there. That's what I'm predicting anyway. Miss Belinda. Well, it was at the end of the episode where we found out that Belinda was Zion's mother, and Zion was the person that was having a treatment at the beginning of the episode and searching for his mother. This information being shared pieced together the timeline of the events that we're going to be seeing in the show. So the shooting seemed to take place on a Thursday. As we know, Belinda is there to learn about the wellness treatments and take it back home with her. Hence why she's there for an elongated period of time and why Zion ended up there too. We don't actually know the fate of Belinda following the shooting, but one would have to imagine that she's going to go on to become an important character because the opening scene was pretty much centered around her. Belinda is on her own, and I feel like whilst she's there, she's going to be observing things that are going to be going on. We saw this whilst she was out at dinner, noticing other people that were around her, more so than others were, simply because she was on her own. So I wonder if she's going to stumble across something that she shouldn't see, which could lead to trouble landing on her doorstep. We saw that she gave some offerings to Brahma in return for good luck and protection, so I predict that she'll probably end up making it out of the show alive. Otherwise, that moment wouldn't have been shown to us. Rick and Chelsea. Rick and Chelsea definitely have an interesting dynamic. Chelsea seems really into Rick, but he doesn't seem that interested in her in the slightest. It seems like they've gone to Thailand for one specific reason, and it's a reason that Chelsea doesn't know about. It feels like Rick's there because he wants to meet Jim Hollinger, Kunsh Ritala's American husband that seems to have bodyguards, as we saw when Gatok and Mook were speaking with one another. We don't truly know the reason as to why he wants to meet him, but considering that Rick isn't allowed into Australia, one would have to presume that he's a criminal of some kind and he doesn't have good intentions with Mr. Hollinger. With Chelsea, she seems to be quite strong in her opinions, but she's a polite individual, as we saw when she was kind to Mook and also the stranger at the bar, Chloe. The woman that we saw was married to Greg. You remember Greg, right? The guy that arranged for Tanya's death in season 2. He loves a White Lotus resort, and to be honest, I can see why. But what I will say is trouble seems to follow him. We didn't hear much about what he's been up to since what occurred in Sicily, but he's now with the former model Chloe, and they both live at the top of the hill, a house that I imagine we'll explore in the coming episodes. He looked frustrated, and we heard that he was in an argument with Chloe, but it seemed to be a petty one. I feel like Greg could well be at the heart of what's going to be erupting in the White Lotus, Thailand, or his presence there could just be a red herring and a way to lead us astray. My review of the episode. I thought this was a great way to kickstart the third season of the show. We were thrown right back into that tension-filled, tight family drama, yet also holiday mindset, and the ever-present threat of what was on the horizon after the opening scene just had me questioning everything. I genuinely feel like this show is one of the best examples of a modern-day whodunit without it feeling like a traditional one. The cast in this season is just exceptional, and I think it has the potential to be the best cast yet. Honestly, I loved the Season 2 cast, but the drama that looks like it's going to unfold in this season could top it if it's done well. The way that the show looks is also really nice on the eye. The yellow hue that the shots had really allowed the tropical feel of the destination to cut through, and it had that warmness that you'd expect from the environment. The use of the monkey is something that I touched on earlier, but I did like how it was subtly included throughout many different parts of the first installment, whether that be them in the trees or even statues overlooking what was going on. We've only had the first episode, so it's difficult to determine which way the story's going to go right now, but I have high hopes for the season. I hope you're strapped in like I am, because I feel like this is going to be one hell of a ride. So, there you have it, The White Lotus Season 3 Episode 1 Ending Explained.